Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something that's pretty wild. Big tech's massive spending on data centers. We've been going through tons of research on this, and wow, the numbers are seriously mind-blowing. We're talking tens of billions, even hundreds of billions of dollars being poured into these gigantic server farms. It's like, is this a brilliant strategic move or a really risky gamble?
Yeah, it's a great question. And to understand it, we have to grasp the scale of what's going on. It's imagine the amount of money Alphabet alone is planning to spend. $75 billion could build us 15 brand new state-of-the-art hospitals. That's how much we're talking about.
Wow, 15 hospitals. That really puts things into perspective. But why are they spending so much on data centers? What's the big payoff?
Well, it comes down to two main things: the explosion of AI and the growth of cloud computing. Everything from those voice assistants we use every day to the personalized ads that seem to know us so well relies on massive amounts of data processing. And all that processing happens in data centers.
Right, so it's about keeping up with the demand for things like AI and cloud services.
Yeah.
But these companies are always thinking ahead. Are they just building these data centers for today? Or are they thinking bigger?
You got it. They're definitely looking ahead. Investing in infrastructure that will support the next wave of AI, things we can barely even imagine right now. Think about the potential of quantum computing. That needs a ton of processing power, or edge computing. That brings data processing closer to the user. These are the kinds of innovations that these data centers will support.
So they're building the foundation for a future where AI is everywhere. But this isn't just about keeping up with technology. Is there a competitive angle to this too? Like, are these companies trying to outspend each other?
Absolutely. It's a race to build the most powerful, efficient, and reliable data centers. The companies that win will control the infrastructure. That powers the digital world. We're talking potential market dominance on a massive scale.
So Alphabet's investing $75 billion. What about the others? Microsoft and Meta? What are they spending?
Microsoft's right there with them. Their spending is projected to be around $80 billion over the next few years. What's interesting is their CFO has said these investments are expected to pay off over 15 years. That's some long-term thinking.
15 years. That's practically unheard of in tech. It's like building digital cathedrals. Okay, but what about Meta? How much are they putting in?
Meta's investment is estimated to be somewhere between $60 and $65 billion. So not quite as high as Alphabet or Microsoft, but still a huge amount. What's interesting is how each company is approaching this. Alphabet is focused on AI applications, while Microsoft is betting big on cloud services. And Meta seems to be diversifying, focusing on both AI and the metaverse.
It's fascinating how each company has its own strategy. It's like they're placing bets on different horses in this race to dominate the digital world.
Exactly. And it's not just about building the biggest data centers. They're also focused on efficiency. They're always trying to reduce costs and make them perform better. They're investing in new technologies like liquid cooling and renewable energy to make them more sustainable.
So it's about being smart and efficient. But here's something we found that makes this even more interesting. There's a Chinese company called DeepSeek, and they're claiming to achieve comparable AI results, not for billions, but for millions of dollars. How is that even possible?
Yeah, DeepSeek is shaking things up. They're basically challenging the idea that you need massive data centers for cutting-edge AI. If they can do what they say, it could force the big companies to rethink everything.
That's crazy. It's a total David and Goliath situation. But how can a small startup like DeepSeek possibly compete with these giants? Companies like Alphabet and Microsoft, they have almost unlimited resources.
It's definitely a challenge, but DeepSeek might have a secret weapon. They're focused on a very specific area of AI, and they've developed a new way of doing things that needs way less processing power. It's like they found a shortcut to get similar results without those massive data centers.
Wow, so maybe it's not about the size, but how you use it. This DeepSeek thing is definitely something to watch. Okay, but let's zoom out for a second. What does all this data center spending mean for the average person? Is this just a battle between tech companies? Or will it affect us too?
This is where it gets really interesting. This isn't just some competition. These data centers are the foundation of the digital world we live in. They power the services we use, the information we consume, the way we connect. The outcome of this data center race will have a big impact on our lives, whether we realize it or not.
I see what you mean. This isn't about who has the biggest server farm. It's about who controls the digital infrastructure that shapes our world.
Exactly. And to understand the impact, we need to talk about something called network effects. Basically, the more users and data a company has, the more powerful they become. Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. getting bigger and bigger.
So the more people use the service, the better it gets. And that attracts even more users and so on. Doesn't that create monopolies?
That's right. That's the downside of these network effects. They can create a winner-takes-all situation where just a few companies control huge parts of the digital economy. And when you think about it, these data centers are the foundation of that economy. So the stakes are pretty high.
Wow, this is intense. It sounds like we're heading towards a future where a few powerful companies control the digital world. But is there any hope for competition? Can we prevent this?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? There are some things that could help. Governments and regulators are starting to pay attention to this potential for market dominance. They're looking at ways to encourage competition and stop monopolies from forming.
So like some kind of digital antitrust laws.
That's one possibility. Another is the rise of different purges, like what DeepSeek is doing, if they can show that you don't need those massive data centers for cutting-edge AI. It could open things up for more competition and innovation.
So there's still a chance for a more diverse and competitive digital world. That's good to hear. But even if we stop monopolies, these data centers are still going to be huge. What kind of world are we building? What are the long-term implications of this investment in digital infrastructure?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll explore more after a quick break.
Actually, you know what? We're not going to take a break. Let's just keep going. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, so we were talking about network effects and a few companies potentially dominating. But before we get to all the downsides, let's remember that these data centers are fueling huge advances in things like healthcare and transportation and education. We're on the edge of a technological revolution, and these investments are making it happen.
Right. It is a bit of a two-sided coin.
Okay, so let's talk about the benefits. One that comes to mind is healthcare. One of the articles mentioned AI being used to diagnose diseases super accurately. Is that actually happening, or is it just hype?
It's definitely happening. And it's not just diagnosing diseases. AI is being used to analyze medical images, predict patient outcomes, even develop personalized treatments. Imagine your doctor having access to a massive database of medical knowledge and using AI to create a treatment just for you. That's the kind of potential we're talking about.
That sounds amazing. It's like having a doctor who knows everything.
Exactly. And it's not just healthcare. Think about transportation. We're already seeing self-driving cars. They rely heavily on data processing and AI. These cars can handle traffic, avoid accidents, and find the best routes. Imagine a future with no traffic jams and safer and more efficient transportation.
Wow, that would be amazing. Can't wait to let my car do the driving. But what about education? How will data centers and AI change how we learn?
Personalized learning is key here. Imagine every student having access to a learning platform that adapts to them. AI can figure out their strengths and weaknesses, provide feedback, and even recommend learning materials. It's like a personal tutor 24/7.
That would be a total game changer. No more one-size-fits-all. Everyone gets the attention they need. I wish I had that.
It's exciting. And it's not just about students. AI can also help teachers by automating things like grading and lesson plans, so they have more time to actually teach.
So we've talked about the good stuff, but we can't ignore the downsides, right?
Of course not. And one of the biggest concerns is that this technology could make inequality worse. If only rich people can access these tools, it could create a digital divide.
So basically, the wealthy get the best healthcare, the best transportation, and the best education, while everyone else gets left behind. That sounds terrible.
It's a real concern. We need to make sure these technologies benefit everyone, not just a few. We need to think about affordability, accessibility, and education.
Yeah, we have to make sure everyone benefits. But what about data privacy? These companies are collecting so much data about us. How do we know they'll be responsible with it?
That's another crucial point. Data privacy is super important. We need regulations and safeguards to make sure our data is protected. We need these companies to be transparent about how they're collecting, storing, and using our data. And we need to be in control of our own data, able to opt out or delete it if we want.
Yeah, it's easy to get carried away with all the excitement.
Yeah.
But we can't forget about the risks. We have to hold these companies accountable.
Absolutely.
Even with all that, we can't deny that this is a time of amazing progress. It's like we're on the verge of a new era.
A digital renaissance.
Yeah, exactly. And these data centers are the engines driving that renaissance. But like with any revolution, there will be winners and losers.
That's right.
So how do we navigate this? How do we make sure we all come out on top?
That's the question we all need to be thinking about.
And it's a question we're going to keep exploring right now. Ready to dive in?
I'm ready.
Let's go. All right, so we've talked about a lot. But the thing that really sticks out to me is that these companies aren't just thinking short term. They're making these huge investments with like a 10, 20, even 50-year horizon. What do you think that means?
I think it means they see data centers as the essential infrastructure of the future. Just like railroads or electricity grids were in the past, they're betting that whoever controls this controls the flow of information, the speed of innovation, and ultimately a big chunk of the global economy.
So that makes sense. It's like they're building the digital version of the Roman Empire's road system,
Yeah.
knowing it will give them a huge advantage.
Exactly. And just like those roads help with trade and communication, these data centers are doing the same thing for information and new technologies. But even empires can fall right.
True. So could these tech giants be overtaken? Maybe by a company like DeepSeek?
It's definitely possible. The tech world is always changing. New technologies pop up. People's preferences change. And unexpected things can happen. Look at how fast the internet and mobile devices changed everything.
Yeah, things change so quickly. Yeah. So even though these companies are investing a lot, there's no guarantee they'll be the ones to benefit.
Exactly. That's what makes this so interesting. It's a high-stakes game, and we don't know who's going to win yet. We're seeing a new era beginning.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
And a little scary. It's like we're at a crossroads. And the choices we make now will determine the future.
So zooming out even further, what does all this mean for society?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. We're moving towards a world where data is the most valuable thing. It's what drives the digital economy. It's what fuels innovation. And it's the key to understanding human behavior.
Wow. So we're going from an industrial economy to a digital economy.
Right.
And these data centers are like the factories of this new economy.
Exactly. And just like controlling oil shaped the world in the past, controlling data will shape the world in the future.
So it's not just about gadgets and internet speed. It's about who controls information. And that's really about power. You got it. And that's why it's so important to talk about this, to understand what's at stake, and to be a part of shaping the future. We can't let the tech giants decide everything for us.
I completely agree. We need to be informed, engaged, and empowered. We need to demand transparency from these companies and think critically about the kind of world we want, a world where technology helps people, not the other way around.
Well said. This deep dive has really shown how important it is to understand what's shaping our digital world.
Absolutely. And to everyone listening, we hope this has given you a lot to think about. The future of technology is being written now, and we all have a part to play. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking those tough questions.
And remember, the future might be uncertain, but it's going to be an amazing ride.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring.